Hello and welcome to Real-ationship Talk, the podcast hosted by yours truly, Teresha Young, relationship master coach, where we have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating and relationships. And I am back with season two of the podcast episode. And oh my goodness, I am being joined by the delightful, the delicious Delcina Young. And if you haven't already noticed, we have the same surname because we're sisters.
Hey. Sister.
Never know how much I missed you. For the people who don't know, that's an American sitcom from the early 90s. So, Delcina.
We're showing our age a little bit.
We are. Early 90s? Oh. So, thank you so much for being the first guest for season 2. So, why have I got Delcina on the show? It's not just because she is my amazing sister, and also, I'm going to big you up here, the creative director when it comes to so much of my social media posts, my videos, the podcast edits. It's all her. It's all her. Yep. She's on the audio, on the intro, on the outro. She does so much for me in terms of my business. So Delcina, a huge thank you to you for that. And now you are on the other side. You're normally behind the scenes.
Yes.
Now
I know, it feels a bit strange. It feels a bit strange to be on camera with you. I'm usually the one laughing at all the edits in the background.
Like now you're gonna have to laugh at your own edits.
I know.
Right?
I might need to edit some bits out, but no, it's
impose our heads.
Exactly.
No,
it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and an honor actually to be your first guest for season 2. I cannot believe we're on season 2 now. So
yeah, and I'm so excited because this conversation is going to be so much fun, of course. And I'm going to read a bit more about you for people who don't know who you are and what you do. So Delcina Young, great surname, is a multifaceted, well-accomplished, inclusive leader working for one of the largest global MedTech companies. She believes we all have superpowers, and hers is development of herself and of others. She describes herself as being a lifelong learner with a growth mindset. She truly believes we all have the ability to do more, be more, and achieve more in whatever areas we choose, personally and professionally. By day, Delcina leads an international team of close to 80 people, supporting 10 countries in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Together, they provide 2 core services: technical helpline support and StartRight, a proactive coaching service. Delcina's team exists to create peace of mind and to provide exceptional support to people using or working with diabetes technologies. By night, Delcina is an award-winning, can I get a rewind? An award-winning inclusion, diversity and equity practitioner. Not only does she lead the ID&E program for Northwestern Europe, but she also has a seat on the ID&E governance board for EMEA. She and her colleagues are on a mission to create a culture where diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion are not only celebrated, but ingrained in the company's DNA. Boom. Wow.
Me.
That is like next level guru going on there. Guru status. So that was a wonderful introduction, and I thank you for putting that together so we understand more about who you are and what you do. So before we move on to talking about love and relationships, this podcast is also about self-growth and self-empowerment too. So it would be absolutely amazing, beautifully amazing, if you could share with all of us a bit more about your journey and what led you to be on the career path of doing all of that. Some of the key highlights would be great to know.
Yeah, okay. So I think my first crossroad really came into play when I was leaving school around the age of 17, 18. And, you know, the teachers were saying, what do you want to do next, Delcina? Where are you going? And at that moment, you know, they were really encouraging me to go towards the university. But as you know, based on where we were as a family at the time, actually, I wanted to go out and to help bring some more financial gain into the family home, to help with the bills, to help you with the bills as well. So I actually opted to go straight into working at the age of 18. I went into a sport nutrition company called Maxi Muscle, which was, you know, a real great foundation for me to start to learn who I am in this adult world and in this working world. And I was there for 3 years, and I quickly discovered my glass ceiling, shall we say.
Delcina doesn't do ceilings.
No, and we break through, we smash through ceilings. And it was at a moment where I thought, you know what, I'm doing so much here, I'm going to ask for a pay rise. And that pay rise was, you know, 1,500, taking me to about 16,000 at the time. And there wasn't any money in the company to give me that pay rise. And I thought, I'm worth more than this. I know I'm giving more than this. And I made one of my, you know, second big life commitments, which was to start to look externally and to look for another role. And you know what it's like when you're in a company and you're so comfortable. You're comfortable with the people, you're comfortable with the processes, you're a big fish in a small pond. You know, you got this. I got this.
Yeah, you got this.
Why am I trying to move anywhere?
Exactly.
But I knew I had to if I wanted to start earning more. And that's when I discovered Medtronic, which is where I am today. I've been with them now for 14 years next month. The 1st of September will be 14 years.
Still showing your age, girl.
Yeah, do you know what? The Young surname keeps it young. So
young and fresh.
That's it. So I was fortunate enough to apply for the company, a job within the diabetes division. It was very close to me because our grandparents both had type 2 diabetes. And I wanted to join a company that makes a difference in people's lives, like truly makes a difference. So I, you know, got into Medtronic and thought, this is it. This is where I'm going to set my roots. I'm going to lay my next foundation. I am going to grow. I'm going to learn. I'm going to be a sponge. And I'm going to climb that corporate ladder to as far as it will take me. And there is no stopping me. Don't stop me now.
Oh, exactly. Especially because I'm chasing you there too. I'm like, girl.
Yeah. There is no stopping me. And I've always been of the mindset that you can do anything that you want to achieve with the right tools, resources, and support of people around you and sponsorship. You can get to many places. And I truly believe it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And those are the people that can open doors for you that were closed. And long story short, over the last 14 years, I have been on 10 different career paths within the company. I started off as a customer service agent, taking calls, placing orders, and I knew I wanted to become a people leader. And I started that journey and moved my way up. So I became a senior, then a team lead, a senior team lead, to manager, and now I'm a senior manager. So next I set on director to hit the official goal that I had created when I joined. But it's been a phenomenal journey, and I've been blessed to be supported by a lot of great people as well.
That is an amazing journey, and as your big sister, you know, I'm super proud of you as well, because of your dedication and your loyalty to the process and not giving up. And to also have the aspiration to becoming a leader. So would you say that there has been any people in your life, putting aside myself, who have been inspirational for you in terms of wanting you to be a leader? Who were your role models?
So I would say, well, don't get it, but you were definitely one of the driving forces for me wanting to go into corporate and to go into a big kind of blue chip company, because I could see the trajectory that you were on. I could see the growth that you were experiencing. I thought, oh well, she's not been to uni. She, you know, she's joined a company and they're helping her to learn and study and develop and grow. So maybe I can do that too. So that for me was a big push. You were a big inspiration on, okay, I too can get into corporate if that's what I want to do. Once I was in, what I loved was working with people. And I automatically almost found myself being there, leading, supporting, coaching, like taking that role on organically, and I always had done through my school years. And I remember all of my teachers were like, you'll be a leader, you'll do so maybe it's not even my idea, maybe they
Programming.
programmed, right? But they was always saying, you know, you've got these leadership qualities. I would always step up, I would lead, whether it's my dance group or, you know, be the one to lead a group in English or whatever it was. I always wanted to be at the front and helping people to come along that journey. And I do think that when I entered into the working world, I felt like I had leaders who I could see where development could be given. And I thought, do you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can work with people and I can get the same results, and if not, maybe even better results than what I was getting. And there's just this absolute pleasure out of being able to take someone who has started off maybe unconfident in what they're doing, and to be able to coach, guide, mentor them to the point where they're flying solo, and you know that they've flown the nest, as I say. And I've said to a couple of my team members who have flown the nest, I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
You did it. You did it.
You did it. You did
Amazing.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I totally feel into that journey that you had there, and there's some of the inspiration that you've got. And obviously, we're sisters. I will say that a lot during the interview. And just in terms of your warmth and your personality, you are such an encourager. Because when it comes to dance and abilities, you know, especially when we're younger, you also, you know, you had the moves, and I was a little bit stiff, a little bit static. But you know, you always encouraged me, no matter with my robotic moves, to you know,
like, yeah, go.
You got it. Yeah. But even with those moves,
less is more.
why are you putting in so much force to that? So much effort, girl? You're gonna break your neck. But yeah, it's a case of that you always have been there to encourage people, you know, even from a young age, like you said, with your dancing, your teamwork that you've done at school, all of that expressive arts that you did. You were involved with a lot when you were growing up in school, and you've always been a team player. You've got a big personality as well. I would say that people are drawn to you, and they feel that, which is why you make such a great people leader, and you have excelled in your journey, because you know, you're just divine Delcina.
Well,
yeah, you know,
the D stands for
exactly, the emphasis on a D. Delicious, delightful, divine. So then tell me, so you have climbed the corporate ladder as well, so how would you describe your journey as a young Black woman in corporate?
Yeah, and it's an interesting question, because I do get asked that quite often, and especially during the work that I do with inclusion, diversity and equity, which we'll just call ID&E from here on out. I feel that I have had incredible people around me on my journey as a Black woman in corporate. I do not feel that at any point my race has been a barrier to my success within either of the organizations that I was part of. I actually feel that there are some other areas that have been more of a hindrance or a setback, one being my age, because I entered the corporate world quite young. I was 21 when I started the corporate kind of ladder climbing, and very ambitious. And so there have been a few roles that I've wanted to go for, and people are like, well, you need a little bit more, not necessarily experience, but time behind you.
Maturity, huh?
Yeah.
Like cheese. You need a little bit more cheddar.
Yeah, like you want me to be stanky, but like I'm good. I understand. If you can show me a task or something that I'm not doing, or a skill that I don't have, give me that feedback. Let me go and work with that, rather than saying, just sit and fester in this role for a little bit longer. And then when you're slightly older, we'll put you in place. So I feel there's been a bit of age bias in my younger days, for sure. Not so much now, you know, tender age of 35.
Gosh, again, showing your age, girl.
Yes.
How old does that make me?
Yeah, ancient. No, I'm joking.
Dinosaur life.
Yeah, but I definitely feel that my race, and I'm very grateful that it has not been a negative or detrimental impact on my career. Now, I'm talking from my own personal experience here, and I just want to make that clear as well. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Black women in the world, because oftentimes you find that when people like, so talk to me about the Black woman experience, and you're like, hold on.
That's a huge responsibility to take there.
I could talk about Delcina Young's experience.
Yeah.
And actually, I've had a really great experience, but I know, one of my closest friends has experienced racism in the workplace.
Yeah.
And so, and she is a young Black woman of my age as well. So it's different experiences based on where you are, based on this environment that you're in, based on the people that you're in, and also the culture of the company that you're in as well. And a lot of it plays down to, well, what's the leadership like? What are the processes like? What's the HR team like? Do they truly believe in ID&E, or is it more lip service? So yeah, I've been very, very fortunate, I would say. Okay. I would say, if I talk about the gender, because you asked me about being a Black and a woman, I haven't felt like my gender has held me back either. And I don't know whether it's because, listen, I'll roll my sleeves up and get into it with you if we need to go.
You get on the court.
Yeah, I am definitely ready to dig deep and prove myself. In the early days, not so much now. I think my
your team are feeding you grapes now.
And me. No, I'd like to say my experience, my results speak for themselves now, but definitely in the early days, you have to prove yourself. In any role. And sometimes women more than men, and you get into the typical bias of, well, some women think if I can't tick every single box on the list of requirements, then I can't do it. Whereas I would have a different way of thinking of like, okay, I can't do that now, but I'm sure I can learn it. So that would not stop me from moving forward. So I think I've had that inner confidence in myself and my ability to learn, even though I have not been to university, which is another bias. I would say that has stayed with me for a bit. Even up until recently, I was thinking, do I go in and finally go and get my master's? Because when you are in big companies, or when you do look externally at other roles and what they're asking you for, like a BA or a master's degree or an MBA plus your experience plus more. And I'm like, whew, okay, I'm very happy where I am, but if there was a time to come when I was looking externally, would that be a challenge for me, even with my years of experience and results?
That's a valid point that you make there. And I know that on your current career path, you have had the opportunity and sponsorship to do some amazing qualifications, because you were level 5. What's that qualification you have?
CMI. So it's a Chartered Management Institute. For the course that I did was Leadership and Management, and that was sponsored through my current company. So that was amazing, a great opportunity to get to do that. It's the equivalent of a foundational degree, but you don't have the degree, and that's where this kind of education bias can kick in to say, oh no, well, you might have got that, but it's still not a good degree, though, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So again, would you, because you've been very fortunate to not have experienced those stereotypes necessarily, or the bias in being a young Black woman, and I vouch for that for my experience too, because I have a HR management background, corporate background, and I too cannot say that I personally, again, my personal experience, have experienced any form of bias when it's come to necessarily my gender, when it comes to my race, age. I can't quite say whether I have. I mean, I cannot identify anything where I've said, it's been extremely limiting, because whilst I was a HR manager, I didn't have people leadership role. I was working alongside managers and helping them to assist their team, as HR normally is, unless you're like a HR manager with a team of people. So I cannot, and I feel very grateful for that, although we're not denying its existence there.
Exactly.
Because it does exist in any way, shape or form. Would you encourage people, therefore, to do a little bit of research before they move into another company? And if so, what should they be looking for?
So if they're looking for, let me clarify. So if they're looking to join another company just because they want their next career step, I would definitely ask or guide people to start to look at the company culture. What company are you joining? what, you know, when you see an iceberg, you see the top and it's usually all pretty and they're like, oh, join us, but what lies beneath the iceberg? Speak to a couple of people in the organization if you can, and doing similar roles to the one that you want to do if you can, to learn a bit more about, okay, well, how do the team truly feel who are on the ground, and taking it with a pinch of salt, because everyone's experience is unique to themselves. Perception is reality, and you know that. So that would be one of the first things that I would suggest is really trying to get into what the culture's like at the company that you're going to join, because you might have the best job in the world, the best salary in the world, but if the people are not your people, or if they operate in a very discriminative way, you are not going to find yourself in that company. You're not going to be comfortable at all. You won't be able to be your best, bring your best self to work, as they say. You won't be able to do that. So I would definitely say, understand the company culture. I would say, you know, if you're going to move into another job as well, make sure that you're not doing it just for a salary increase. You need to look at the overall package that you're going to be getting. You know, okay, yes, I might be getting an extra $5,000, but do I get the same bonus? Do I get the same holiday entitlement? Do I get the same healthcare? Do I get the same pension? Like, you've got to take everything into consideration. And because whilst I understand, you know, your bills get paid by that salary, at the same time, if I want some time off, right now I've got 30 days annual leave. If I went to a company with 20 days, that's 2 weeks, that's just gone. And I want to keep my work-life balance, and is an extra $5,000 worth that?
A mindset piece there. It's really important to understand what your motivation is when it comes to your jobs and your careers, whether you want to stay put where you are or whether you want to look for something else, because money motivation can actually be quite a short-term motivator in terms of benefits, remuneration, whatever that might be. But when you can align yourself to the purpose, your mission, that your why, you know, when you connect to that, your why will make you fly. And
if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough.
This is how you rule. Going hard. So, but when you are connected to your why, make it cry, you know, fly, all of that stuff. It can really help you on those days when you wake up and you're not necessarily feeling. And the why has to be a lot more, because we do want safety. I think one of our core human needs is security and safety, right? And having money to pay the bills, to have safety, security in your home, 100%, we want to feel that. Nobody wants to feel like you're just surviving, right? Equally, there's going to be so much more to wake you up. So the drive isn't just, I have to go to work to pay the bill. It's, I'm going to work because I actually truly love what I do, and I love being around the people, because technically, if you are in a full-time role, you're spending about 260 days of your life. 260 days in the work environment, whether that's online, whether it's in the office, whatever that might be. That's a lot of time and energy.
Make sure the people you're spending your time with you like.
Exactly. And if they're not quite your people, then you find ways to shift your energy to hopefully make it more easier for you to go to work. So no, thank you for that share.
And I would just, you know, add on to what you were saying there, is that's exactly the reason why I am where I am today and have been there for so long, is because the culture of the company has been fantastic, and it's been one that has allowed me personally to explore who I am, to become who I am, to grow, to learn, to develop, and then to help others along that same journey as well. And I say that to my team all the time, is like, you have to truly look at where you are, and if you're not happy being here in your role, you have to look at, well, what will make me happy? And is it, I'm not happy at the moment in life in general, or is it, I'm not happy in the role? Because there is one thing that I wouldn't want, is for people to stay in my team and be unhappy with what they're doing, where they're going. And one of the things that I would say I work very hard with, and my leadership team do as well, is developing people. So we get them in, they do the job, and then we ask them, what next? Where do you want to go next? How can we help you get there? We've had so many people within my team move into other areas of the business, different operating units, like different senior levels. And that's because we value development, and we value people taking the next step in their career. And I think because I've seen it, lived it, experienced it, I want others to have that as well.
Yeah. And that's what I've witnessed too, because for yourself, no matter how senior you have got in the business, you're still being recognized for it. You're still getting acknowledgements, awards, development. It doesn't stop just because you're at a senior level, then the company forgets about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so important is whenever you are in a company, is that development, is that career progression, if that's what you want.
Because some people just want to plod along.
Well,
they just want to come in, have a nice time, and then go home. And that's exactly, we need people like that as well.
We do, exactly. And because as long as you're hitting your KPIs and you're performing well, fantastic, it can be very rosy. But yeah, it's really, I've witnessed that. When I think when it comes to culture, like you said, it's really getting into the business and understanding what it is like to be there as people, as a team, and then also what your career path could potentially look like. Where does it stop? So it's having those discussions, and I think you have been such a joy to watch, to see that happen. You know how it goes.
Appreciate your support along the way, because you've been the one helping me prep for certain interviews as they come up, or giving me coaching and guidance along the way. So yeah,
I do my best as well, and you're fantastic. You're so coachable, Delcina. You're so coachable. Like you said, you're a sponge.
Yes, give me.
Give me the info. So you've spoken about ID&E, and you've broken it down. That's what we're going to refer to it as it is: inclusion, diversity, and also
equity.
Okay. So in that practice, what are some of the misconceptions that may evolve around ID&E? What have you encountered?
Where do I begin? No. So when I think about ID&E, for me, it's seen as a nice to have, not a need to have. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions.
Okay.
ID&E is not a nice to have. It's not something that you should focus on as and when you have the time and if you have the budget to do it. ID&E is about people, and it's about your culture. And if you don't have that right, you're going to have a lot of people coming in the door and going back out the door at the same time. So what I see is that people, and I'm not talking specifically about my company here, but just in general with the people that I've worked through, it's like, we'll get to ID&E when we can, it's busy right now. And it's like, no, because it's like a side thought. It's a side thought, exactly. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. And this is where you've got to start, because you can't take people out of your business. You're not working with robots. Gone were the days where you say, you turn up to work and you leave your baggage at the door, and at the end of the day you pick that up and you go home. Like, I mean, that used to be a mindset, right? It was like, once you're in here, focus on the job. But over the years, what's been good to see is that we understand that that doesn't happen for everyone, and actually shouldn't have to happen for everyone. I should be able to turn up to work and be myself. I shouldn't have to try and fit in to conform to a certain way of working or being in any company. I should be able to bring my own value and space to the meal.
Oh yes.
So that's one of the biggest misconceptions that I've seen. One of the other misconceptions that I've seen is that people think, oh yeah, well, if we've got diversity, then we've got inclusion and we've got equity, like at the same time.
If I group it all together.
Yeah. Inclusion, diversity, like no, they each are different things. And if we think about diversity, one of the goals that we have within our company is to be reflective of the population that we serve, of our customer install base. And if you were to have a look at the company that you're in, does it reflect the population of the country that you're in, of your customer install base? Is it more female, more male? Is it more one race than another? Are people more of a kind of like millennial type, generation, or are they older? And diversity is about bringing a mix of people together, and that includes, age, race, gender, disability, everything else that would, be covered under the Equality Act, the 2010 Equality Act for UK and Ireland, for the UK. But Ireland and other countries have very similar equality acts, where it looks at protected characteristics which you cannot be discriminated against for. So that's diversity.
Okay.
And don't give me diversity of thought either. Yes, we all are different and we all think differently.
And we're not talking about diversity of the group either.
I know, but you know, if we're going to bring them in and we're going to dance with them, fine.
We can do it,
we can do that. But to get true diversity, you have to have different people, different backgrounds, different lived experiences.
Okay.
Then we talk about inclusion. Inclusion is about how you, that's what it said on the tin, right? How you include people within the system that is your organization. Do you have systemic inclusion? So we look at things like hiring. Is it done in an inclusive way? Do you try to remove the bias out of hiring by making sure you've got diverse hiring panels, like different leaders from different areas interviewing people? Do you make sure that you're looking in different places to bring in that diversity? But that's the inclusive element of it, is the fact that you're going out and you're doing that proactively, rather than just saying, oh yeah, send me a bunch of CVs. The other elements of inclusion is about, well, how do you make people feel like they can be themselves at work? You know, when they come in, if they've had a bad day, or if they've got a family member who's going through something, or if they're struggling themselves with their own mental health, you know, how do you allow them to be true to themselves at work, in a sense? When we look at promotions, you know, are they done in an inclusive way? Or is it the same people with the same faces that get promoted? So the inclusion is huge, and you've got to work hard at both inclusion and both diversity. You have to be intentional. And that's what people say, oh, no, it will happen. It's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do. But we also have our biases. Everybody has biases. We all have them. And so that's one of the other misconceptions, is that, oh, I don't have bias. No, we all do. We all do. We all, you know, have grown up in certain communities or grown around, you know, different family members, and there are stereotypes and biases that are formed. So let's just agree with that. But then it's what you do with them, because some of them serve you and most of them don't. So how do you start to cut through that?
That sounds like, I was going to say, that sounds like an element of training that would need to be done, because people aren't often aware of their unconscious bias, right? So in order to understand where your unconscious bias is, you're going to have some self-awareness around that. And how do you elicit that?
Exactly. Another thing that I've heard people call them is blind spots.
Blind spots.
You don't know your blind spots. It's like when you're driving, for all those drivers out there. Listen, there have been a couple of cars in my blind spots that shocked me when
you had to swerve.
When I discovered they were there. Oh, mama.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they have. And that's exactly the same thing with your biases. Some you won't know of, and when they're highlighted to you, you're like, oh, okay, I can work with that. So I mean, where we are, we do an unconscious bias training, and you know, people go back and forth. Does unconscious bias training work? Does it not? This, that, and the other. Firstly, you cannot expect to do unconscious bias training and say, yep, everyone gets ID&E now. Absolutely.
It's not a tick box scenario.
Exactly. It's another resource to help people explore themselves. And through some of the work that I've done and we've done in neuro-linguistic programming, that all starts with understanding self, understanding who you are, what your map of the world is, so then you can start to understand others. And I think that's probably why I found ID&E like to be such a passion of mine, is because for years I was doing work on myself to learn more about me, to learn more about, why do I think that way? Hold on, I don't even agree with that. Like, why so
where did it stem from?
Exactly. And then you go back and like, okay, that's the moment.
It was that music teacher who said I spelt weird wrong.
Exactly. No, I don't like to get up there, or the people that laughed at me when I was reading out loud. No, I don't like to read out loud. So there are all of these things that you unpick about yourself, which I think I see that as similar to what you do in the work of inclusion, diversity, and equity. You start to unpick yourself to then start to try and understand you and then others, and put yourself in their shoes. Empathy is, it's got to be huge, because there are people that say, oh, we shouldn't have to look at ID&E. No, we shouldn't. It's something we organically do. I 1000% agree. But we're not there.
But so it's not natural.
Get to that point, exactly, until we get there, we've got to be intentional about doing that.
So before we move on, was there another blind spot you was going to bring up? I don't want you to not
I was just going to talk about equity and equality.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
What is the difference between equity and equality?
Yeah. And listen, I'm not a dictionary, so if you go and look it up yourself if you want to as well. But
I'll drop a link.
Exactly, we'll drop a link to it. But for me, when you start to look at equality, it's, say if you had a pie and you cut it in 4, and there were 4 people, each person would get an equal share of that pie. That's equality. Equity is looking at, okay, I have this pie, but who needs it the most? Actually, I've got someone over there, that one person who's not actually eaten for 4 days, so I'm going to give them a bigger slice of the pie. Okay. That person, actually, they're full, so I'm not going to give them any at all. And then I'm going to split this last, quarter between 2 people. So it's about giving people what they need in order to succeed in life. So, or in life, in job, in a process. So if I was to think about in my team, training, for example, if I was to train everyone on a new product in exactly the same way, that would be equality.
Okay.
However, I know there are certain people who have different learning styles. They might need a different way. They might need some extra time. They might want to come back in and have a one-to-one with my training team and everything else. That's equality. It's making sure that that person has what they need to succeed.
Wow. That takes a lot of concerted effort to understand it. And I can understand why some people just want to push it to one side, because it does mean more work, right?
Hopefully. Yeah. You know what? You can have a team and you can say, oh yeah, it's fine. I've given them all the thing. I've done my job. But you might have someone that's dyslexic. Yeah. You might have someone who needs some additional learning. Then you've got, somebody else there who just picks it up and super quick and is like, well, I've got it. Why doesn't everybody else have it? So yeah, for me to be an inclusive leader, you've got to know your people. You've got to know what they need in order to not just survive, but to thrive in the environment that you're in.
And it sounds like there's prevention as well, and then there's a cure. I think there's been a lot of curing a situation in this. Prevention is key. Yeah. So it feels to me like this is something that needs to be educated from a very young age. Like this has to be bedded from childhood, from school age, even toddler age if you can, so that it's not a massive thing to do as adults to train people, because it's automatic way of being.
I mean, in our big age, we're talking about equality. Seriously. Seriously now, and some people still don't think it's needed, but that is because they've not stopped to pause, to put themselves in the shoes of somebody else, and to say, let me really switch on my empathy, and try and understand what it is that they've gone through. Like when we do talk about racism and say, it does exist in the UK, for example, and people are like, no, racism doesn't exist here, and you're like, and what makes you say that?
Yeah, because, exactly. What's your evidence?
Exactly.
I've got some other stuff that we can look at.
Experience, exactly. Our brother has experienced, systemic racism in a sense, walking down the road and being stopped for no reason. There are certain things that happen, being pulled over, but actually mistaken identity. Oh, seriously? Really?
Yeah. And there's another person who looks like me.
So racism does exist. And so for me, if I put that back into the work context, or if I look at any of these protected characteristics that we have, whether it be, sexism, I haven't experienced that personally. But if a colleague of mine was to say that they have done, I would not dismiss that and say, it doesn't exist here because I have not experienced it.
Yeah.
And that's where we need people to get to, where they come from a place of curiosity rather than accusation or dismissal. It's, well, tell me more, like, what have you experienced? And then how can we get you some help for that? How can we raise it further? Because there is the other thing, is that if that person's got their unconscious bias on display, they might not realize they're even behaving in a way that can come sexist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about everyone having a bit more awareness of themselves and the people around them. In dance, we'd call it your kinosphere, like your personal space, like you're in my kinosphere. So,
okay. Do I want you in my kinosphere? I don't know about that. How far does my kinosphere go?
Yes. And they all connect and they all touch. And even though I might be okay here, someone else might not be.
Yeah. Oh, completely. Oh, that's so interesting. And everything you're saying, it feels like, is it fair to say we are moving in the right direction though? We are making progress in
Yes,
society.
I would say, I mean, I can, well, in
You
society.
can't, here, come on, Delcina, the young
Talk,
black woman talks on behalf
for
of the
society
UK.
now, like, damn. No, I would say, I would like to think we are moving in the right direction as a society, as companies, you know, who are starting to have focus. I think we need to not get into the situation where it's lip service. It's tick box exercises. You know, it's not, let's hire 4 Asian people because that hits our quota. And then they come into
We'll put them in the company brochure.
Yeah. We'll highlight you. We'll put you on our social media space. But when you get into the company, people don't respect the fact that you might need time to fast. So you might need to change your hours. That your celebrations are different. So maybe you want extra time at Eid and not Christmas if you're, you know, Muslim. So there are different things where I think we're moving steps in the right direction for sure. We just need to make sure that we're not caught in performative action.
Yeah, okay.
That we stop and we look at the whole system of a company. What does our pay look like? Do we have pay equity? Once someone's joined the company, do we make sure that everyone has equal access to tools and resources, and then the access that they need on top of that to tools and resources? Do we make sure everyone has a career development program? Do we make sure, you know, you've got to look at the system, you've got to break everything down, which is why if your HR team aren't looking into ID&E, if it's just a group that's kind of set out, a working group, then you're not going to get to the root cause.
Okay.
You've got to have multiple people within your organization focused on it, looking at it holistically from a, you know, a raising awareness and having events and campaigns, which is my area of focus with my team that I work with at Medtronic.
Yeah.
And then we have our HR team who are also looking at those processes, the system of the company, to say, have we made sure we've embedded ID&E in these areas? Are they in all of our processes?
That's so, it's really encouraging to hear that. It's really encouraging to hear that those great practices do exist. And if more people, you know, more businesses can input that and implement that there too, fantastic. And you know, if we can also instill the habits and behaviors and the thoughts and the way that we just are from a young age, it definitely is, you know, scope for major changes to happen. And I just think it's really encouraging that we actually have dedicated people, you know, looking at ID&E too, which is great.
And this is always what I say, you know, you wouldn't put someone into sales who has never sold anything in their life and say, there you go. So you can't expect people to just do the same with ID&E. The people who are working on ID&E in your organization have to have some training. They have to have that knowledge if they're going to help grow an area that is focused on ID&E. They've got to be immersed in it in themselves. You have to be intentional with who you pick to lead your ID&E work, regionally, globally, whatever it is. Knowledge is key and is power.
Knowledge is power. What
without
you do
action
with that knowledge, exactly what you do with that knowledge is even more powerful. Boom. So many gems you're dropping here, Delcina. I need to be taking notes. I'm going to listen back to this and I'm going to be like, taking out my scripts. It's so good. And I'm sure that the listeners are getting so much value from this too. And something that did jump to me when you were speaking earlier was about, you know, your rise in the corporate world, up the corporate ladder, and how you put a lot of action into that, you know, a lot of, dare I say, masculine energy. Energy, which is Delcina does it. So it's all about, you know, the action, the vision, the goal setting, the doing. How does Delcina allow herself to be in the feminine energy? How does allow herself to slow down and to receive and to be creative and be in flow? Peace and zen.
Oh, Delcina has had to work hard at that. That's for sure.
Please talk in third person.
Yes. I'll tell you what Delcina has had to do. So, you know, it's not been something that's been natural to me because I have been in action for so many years. I have been, this is my vision, this is my goal, this is what I need to do to get here, like map this out, move from A to Z. And to be able to just stop and slow down is something I've had to spend some time focused on when I realized that, you know, who am I? Okay, yes, I know who I am in the corporate space.
Yeah.
I own that. I know who I am.
Oh, yes.
But who am I outside of work? Who am I, you know, as the sister and as the girlfriend, as the daughter? And so over the years, I've developed my own spiritual practices, my mind, body, soul connection. Now,
Holistic being.
My holistic being, exactly. And there are a few things that I've done over the years. One was I started to explore, you know, energy and Reiki, and I trained in Reiki. Now, I don't want to hear no comments about whether you do or don't believe. That's fine.
Well, she's a master, right?
Yeah,
she's a Reiki master.
Reiki master. And that just allowed me to just connect. You know, we did a lot of breathing, a lot of meditation, a lot of kind of understanding you and being still. And that's what I didn't used to be. I never used to take time and stop. And
I'm just laughing here. I'm just laughing here because you are like the queen of sleep and naps. So
exactly. You know how hard it took me to get.
It was like Delcina's like she's nailing 8 hours sleep plus naps. So it's
right. So over the years, you have to grow into these habits. Now, I would say, even if I go back, I would work so hard and I would work such long hours that outside of that, I'm not moving. I would just sit. Well, we didn't have Netflix back there, Blockbuster and chilling, and I mean laying down in my bed, me one, you know, watching movies. And that would be all I could do, because mentally, physically, I was drained. So for me, it's been about learning where my cup is full, or even taking a step back, learning when it's becoming full, and stopping it before it gets to the point of overflowing. And so, yes, I do honor my sleep and my naps when I can get them in.
What's that grey tick for ages? She's sleeping.
Yeah.
Blue tick. Oh, you're awake now.
Nap. One of the benefits of working from home, I can nap in my lunch break. But for me, it's about a couple of different elements. So I've got the kind of the physical side of things, which is I train a lot. So in the back, you can see my treadmill.
See that treadmill there?
My treadmill is here.
A machine.
Yes, it's amazing. I can walk in Egypt. I've done haunted house tours on it. It goes up and down. It does what you need it to do. But that for me was about having something in my physical in my home space where I can jump on and take care of me. I work with a coach, Kyle Collymore, who's actually been on season 1 of this relationship kind of, you know, real talk.
Absolutely. So, he's my personal coach too when it comes to fitness and physique enhancement.
Exactly. So with him, we've kind of got a plan in place to take care of me physically, a minimum of 8,000 steps every day. I have a food plan in place. I weight train 4 times a week. I do 2 leg sessions and 2 upper sessions, a push session, a pull session. I'm very passionate about weight training and just seeing myself grow and develop in that area. I'm on a weight loss journey and muscle building journey at the same time. So that's kind of like physical.
That's great, because some people might say, but isn't that just doing masculine? But no, the body is the home of the feminine energy. So doing that physical work is actually a really good way to release energy.
And I feel that actually, do you know what? I can get a lot of frustration out when I'm working out, when I'm training weights, if that's the mood I'm in. Well, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, let's go. And I release that in that exercise. So I'm not bringing that to work at the same time. Come on, team, we need to hustle.
On the treadmill. You can do it. You can do it.
Exactly. 5 calls waited. 5 calls. So I'm not trying to be that person at work. I want to live my soft life, as they say, and really show up as me, as Delcina in all elements. So I've got to balance both masculine and feminine energy. And then I've come to the spiritual side, and you know, I am a more of a spiritual person than a religious person, but I believe that by taking time for me to meditate, to connect with myself, to do all sorts of things. Yes, I have had crystals and gemstones and everything that just grounds me. That for me is how I connect with that feminine energy when I'm in more of a quiet space, when I'm just, you know, I burn my incense. I love doing that on a Monday morning. I wake up, I'm like, okay, Mondays can be busy, right? What do we do? Get breakfast in, get a few steps in, burn my incense, I'm ready to go.
Amazing.
That's that balance that I try to create on a daily basis.
And the feminine energy is about arousing your senses. So you've got the smell of the incense there, which is great. And you're able to tap into that. You've got grounding things around you too. You might even have crystals or gemstones or whatever that is. Sometimes I like to pop a little gemstone in the bar. A salt lamp. I don't use pockets. So pop a gemstone in the bar. Mind wise, how do you nourish your mind? What are you doing? Personal development?
Drink plenty of water, that's for sure.
Yeah. Even though water looks a little bit pinkish.
Isn't water plus squash is tasty water, okay?
Sugar-free though, right? Sugar-free.
Sugar-free Vinto is the one. So mind-wise, I'm always learning, growing, studying something. So now I would say right now in time is the first time when I've said no to actually taking on a new task, because I felt like I just need to keep my mind clear. But over the years I've done a lot, from, you know, becoming a master NLP practitioner, as I shared earlier, to learn more about myself and others and to help me in my career. And I definitely feel that helped me to grow into the leader that I am today. I've done my studying, so I completed my level 5 CMI diploma last year. Earlier this year, I completed a eCornell course for inclusion, diversity and equity. You know, I did a personal training course when we were down during COVID times. So I'm always looking for different things. I'm constantly researching things on YouTube or learning how to do different things. Whether it's learning how to put something together for my house, or if it's learning something to help me or my team or somebody else I know grow and develop, constantly feeding myself with knowledge.
You have, and you being one of my huge inspirations when it's come to the whole holistic element. Look, when I was 5 stone heavier than I was, you're like, girl, because my daughter was young at the time, when she's having her afternoon nap, she's like, get on the treadmill, because I've got a home treadmill, get on the treadmill, you know, work on it. And you were so fundamental and crucial when it came to that, you know, and helping me to eat differently too. Mindset wise, you were the person through our network marketing experience back in the day. Throwback to network marketing really got me onto personal development. And it was you who introduced that to me. Oh, gosh, even the spiritual side. I'm the one like, go get that money, go to corporate, boom, boom, boom. It's like, slow down, you know. Exactly. You know, try this crystal. Kind of experiment with Reiki. And so I've got my Reiki practitioner level 2. Not quite master yet, but again, I believe in all of that. And I just think it is lovely that you are still able, because some people say, I don't got time. And it's like, we all got the same time.
You got to make time. Beyonce got, you know, Beyonce got the same 24 hours as you. Controversial. That was a little while back, but
we do, isn't it? It's choice management, not necessarily time management.
Well, and it's your priorities, right? What are you valuing? What are you putting before you, or putting before someone else? And this is where I think you've got to establish a balance. And that balance does not mean you're doing exactly the same things every single day. I said 2 hours for this, 5 hours for that. No, it's about ebb and flow. Ease and flow. Let it go. Throwback to a past meditation course we went on.
It was awesome. It was like law of attraction, wasn't it?
Yeah, law of attraction. It was amazing. But it's about understanding, okay, if I want to work out, if I want to, you know, work on my mind at the same time, I still have a 9-to-5 job, or 7 till 3:30. But that's one of the things that I've been able to do, which has helped me gain some balance, is start my work time earlier. So I start when my first group start. I finish at 3:30, which means I can then train after work. I can still get home and feel like I've had an evening. So there are certain things that you might be able to shift in your schedule that help you achieve that overall balance is what you're looking for. It's not necessarily a daily balance, because there are some times where I can't, I might have a huge emergency at work and then suddenly I've got to work later, but that's okay, because I'll find another way to make it work later in the week.
Is that flexibility, isn't it? And going gentle on yourself. So even if you've not had opportunity to do something, don't beat yourself up about it.
Exactly.
It's to find ways to make it work another day or a different time of day, and being flexible in it. And I think that's so important to show people that yes, you can be a highly ambitious, driven, professional woman, or even if you're a man listening to this, and still equally take time out for you to make sure that you are pouring into your cup. And if you are going to pour out of your cup, you're only pouring from the overflow. You're not diminishing yourself for that. And I think that's so important, and to share that. So now, Delcina, we're kind of moving into the personal aspect. We've been speaking about your personal life there. I want to find out a bit more about romance and love. So tell me. Oh yes, love is in the air. And of course, I know some of your experiences, but people don't. Other people might not. So reflecting on some of your key romantic experiences, past and also current, what would you say have been some of your key learnings and experiences from that?
I would say if I look at my past relationships, which I haven't had many of, it would be balance and not losing myself in the relationship. So putting the other person before me, because I'm such a giving person as well. And what I found in the past relationships that I was in is that I was giving more than I was receiving. So it created an imbalance, which then leads to frustration, which leads to anger, which leads to, not great situations. And I think in the other side, it was about learning my value. Like I had to learn my value at work. It was learning the value of me in a relationship. That I deserve to have someone who shows me, love and affection and safety and security and all the other things that you want to feel when you're in a relationship as well. So I would say those have been my past learnings, and also to take things slowly. If I go on.
No, you go.
I was going to say
you had the breath. Teresha's got a question.
So if I compare that to the relationship that I'm in today, I would say my relationship today embodies all of that. I would say that we have an equal amount of give and take, of love, of understanding, of unconditional love, where it's not, if you do that, I'll do this. Sometimes you understand that you are giving more than the other person at that moment, and then the other person's giving more at that moment. But communication is the other thing that I would say is key as well to any relationship that you're in. My past relationships, communication was really poor, or I wouldn't ask questions that I wanted to ask, and so things go unsaid. Whereas in this one, yes, sometimes you still got to find your inner courage to have the conversation, but it's about having it, even if you feel uncomfortable in the moment and if the other person feels uncomfortable. But if you don't, what that's going to do is that's going to fester inside you, create that negative energy, and then suddenly you'll find yourself just exploding, and that's not the place that you want to be at.
Boom, exactly. And so many things that you said there that is important, and I just want to address a couple of those things. So firstly, talking about communication and the ability to communicate effectively with a partner, and I believe that a lot of that comes from feeling safe in that relationship, right? So that person helps you to feel emotionally safe, physically safe, even spiritually, socially safe. I'm not sure if I said mentally, but mentally safe, financially safe as well. that to have that independence too. And when we feel that sense of safety, it can make it so much more easier to communicate, to be your authentic self, and to have that self-expression in a relationship. And when you were talking about some of the not knowing the value, maybe self-worth issues, maybe not deserving, not speaking up, I've spoken very publicly about our parents' relationship, and how there was domestic violence within that relationship, dad towards mum, where he was physically and emotionally, mentally abusive for mum, and how we were growing up, we saw a lot of that. And a lot of our behaviors and programming patterns stem from what we witnessed as a kid. And for me, I think a lot of that did also, it shaped who I was as a person going into my adult relationships, and not really being fully deserving, not feeling deserving or worthy, and having to be a yes person, and no, in that situation, walking on eggshells, a really disempowered feminine energy to be in. Would you say the same?
I would definitely say that, yes, our parents' relationship does and did have an impact on what you think a normal relationship should look like, and what you think you should put up with. Sometimes it's easy to compare, and you're like, but I'm not being hit, or I'm not getting beaten up, so surely that's okay. And you're like, oh, hold on, that's not the standard. That's not the standard.
Exactly, that's not the bar, is it? It's like, because the bad stuff isn't happening, that means but in other ways there could be other quote unquote toxic behaviors that are happening in a relationship.
So I definitely feel a lot of what we've been through over these years is unprogramming and relearning what a healthy relationship looks like, feels like, so that we don't carry that on through our generation and then generations to come. And we're only human at the end of the day, so sometimes you might get with someone who hasn't done that same level of work, or hadn't been through the same situation, and then ends up trying to bring those kind of toxic traits into the relationship that you're in. But that's where you have to hold strong in your values and in your beliefs and say, no, I'm not having that. That is not going to run with me. What we're not about to do is this. And as scary as it can be, breaking away from that person, if that's what you need to do.
Oh gosh, there's so many things about attachment styles while we stay in these relationships, people, codependency, there's so much that's for trauma bonding. Sometimes we can trauma bond with people who have similar experiences, and it connects us, and it's not the most healthiest positions to be in a relationship. So it also sounds to me like you identified your non-negotiables when it came to attracting the person that you're with now. So you knew what your boundaries were. You were able to define that, and that's really important when it comes to a relationship, is knowing what your boundaries are, having healthy boundaries, of course.
Healthy boundaries,
having healthy boundaries. And also what your non-negotiables are. What will you tolerate and put up with, and what won't?
And sometimes that changes. As in, you think your non-negotiables are X, and then you meet this person, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not. But as long as it's not at detriment to you, that's the key. So for example, if someone says, I'm never going to meet someone, or I'm never going to date someone with children, and then you meet someone and they have children, and you're like, oh, I didn't think I would do that, but now I am. So there are certain things where you have a high. For me, I was single for a very long time, and I said, no men, thank you, go away. I'm focused on my career. And you know what? Those were some of the best years of my life, because I was just like head down to the ground, like grinding it out. Not 24/7, eat whatever, but it was
don't eat, don't sleep, don't breathe.
Exactly. Just go hard or go home. But those were some of my formative years, moving into my leadership role, that I just needed time for me, time to focus on me. And I don't think actually I would have been able to invest time into another person at that moment in my life in the way that I would have wanted to, or in my career the way I would have wanted to if I had been with someone at that
There would have been
time.
some sort of compromise, I guess.
Exactly. So at that moment, I was just like, no, I'm not gonna, get into a relationship. And I just moved into your flat at that time as well. And so for me, it was like own space, living by myself, like single, just being me. And that was some of the greatest times. And that's where I built some of my getting to know myself, getting to know what I want in a relationship, because there wasn't someone like distracting me on the side. So it was like, I created such calm and peace in my space that if you're going to enter my space, you best be coming in correctly and not bringing a tornado with you, because that's not going to happen, because I now know who I am and what I will and won't accept.
That's so good. And it's spotting those red flags.
Exactly.
Well, like you said, it's being flexible and maybe expanding your parameters slightly. Now, particularly as we get older, sometimes you might actually meet that person who has had a prior life and has children now, because
absolutely
going to the 40s, mid-40s, 50s, it's likely that they're going to have had a relationship and had commitment somewhere else, might even have been married before.
Likely.
Just be a bit more, I guess, flexible.
And to be honest, it was you when you became a single parent. And I thought, oh my gosh, someone, if they had my same mindset, would look and go, I'm not going to date her because she's a single parent with a young child. And I thought, what kind of backwards mentality is that? Because they'd be missing out on the most wonderful woman that they could ever have.
Look at me.
Exactly. Look at this model in front of you. And also they'd be missing out on such a beautiful child that is your daughter. And so my wonderful niece. And so I thought, no, I've got to open up my parameters and explore that. If someone wants to come into my life with children, it's not now a non-negotiable, but it's something that I would understand a little bit more as to whether we could make it work together.
Yeah. And it's just knowing how far those parameters were, because I was talking to a coaching client recently and she is opening up her parameters too. And I'm not going to disclose anything confidential here, but she was open now to people having children in her life, and she connected with somebody on a dating app, and he said, I do want to share with you that I've actually got 7 children. Oh. She was like,
Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, we'll call her Snow White.
She was like, I have opened up my parameters. However, I still need to have my boundaries in terms of, okay, maybe 3 max.
Am I willing to take on a tribe?
Yeah, exactly. But the whole community might not necessarily be my portion. So it's just about having that flexibility.
Absolutely.
And you spoke and you was talking there about developing and understanding love and what that meant for you. So I'm really keen for you to share with us, what's your personal definition of love in a romantic context?
So I would say my personal definition of love in a romantic context is, drum roll.
Exactly.
I'll edit that in.
And we'll pause there, part 2 next week.
Next week. I would say, oh, this is a hard one because I've got so many things floating around in my head and I'm like, I want to start it somewhere, but I'm going to end off somewhere different. So I'm just going to say what's coming to my mind.
Okay.
But romantic love for me is about understanding my partner and what their needs, what their values are, and being able to give that to them in some way, shape or form, but also having that reciprocated to me as well. Romantic love for me is about that unconditional love. Like I said before, it's not we're trying to score points against each other. It's that, do you know what? I understand if you're going through a situation right now that's going to need a lot of time away, or it's going to be stress and pressure, and I'm here to have your back through that moment. And you do the same for me when those moments come about. I might not always shine in my brightest light, and there might be challenges that I'm going through, but don't write me off because of that. Like, don't end the relationship because I'm going through a tough patch. Like, please don't go, don't leave. Like,
you're not the same you were yesterday.
Exactly. You're damn straight. Like,
Am
today
I?
I've got red hair. So it's about, I would say knowing the person that you're in and finding a way of being together. You're bringing two souls, two people together to share a space and a life. Those two people have a whole universe that they're bringing in together. So it's about understanding how you orbit around each other rather than, you know, kind of bounce each other off. And I'm like, oh, I'm in another universe now. It's like, finding your love orbit.
Finding your love orbit. So, Delcina, I think we have a podcast title there.
Did we just
Finding your love orbit. Yes.
There we go. Season
like 3. Don't trademark that. So, I must take a note.
Teresha, if you want to use it, it's now 10 grand.
No. We don't. That's not how we work. Okay. We work. Oh, Delcina, that's absolutely amazing. And when you are in love, how do you feel? Do you have that giddy feeling? Does it make you feel like, oh, stop?
Yeah, it's that knowing that I've got someone there who's there for me no matter what, through the ups, the downs, through everything. You know, I can wake up in the morning and know that that person is there for me, and that feeling of security and knowing that I could call him at any point and he would have my back. He'd drop what he's doing. He'd come to me if I needed help, or, you know, if I needed financial help, he'd be there to give it to me if I ever got into a position like that, or if I needed help moving, like he was there for me when I moved. Like there are so many different things that I can rely on him for. And it's like having a best friend, you know. I see him as not only this person that I'm in a relationship with, he's my best friend. Like, we laugh so much. We've got similar values with each other, whether it's, you know, our love of the same films, the same music, training, like whatever it is. Like, this person is just amazing. And I feel like it's me, but Mel me. Mel me.
I wonder if he feels the same way. Yeah. It's the feminine person.
We just put our heads on each other.
Delcina, please. I know you're so creative. Go out there and superimpose each other's heads onto each other's body. That would be the next task.
Yeah.
That is. Do you know what? And I hear it a lot of, you know, teamwork. It's a lot of partnership.
Oh, so much.
You know, like a power couple thing going on there.
Yeah. So I know that, you know, like when I was studying, he was there. He was like, right, what do you need? What we got to do? Like, he had my back the whole way. Same for him when he's been transitioning jobs. It's like, okay, what do you need? How can I help you? Okay, you're going through this. Okay, let's plan this out. Like, it's my teammate.
Yeah.
At the same time. So I think that it's a partnership.
Definitely.
So I wouldn't usually say, oh yeah, I've got a boyfriend. It's like, I've got a partner. This is my life partner. Someone that I know we're now for the rest of life will be that person who I do life with. So
now, if you're listening to that, Delcina's partner, she's just claimed you.
No, yeah, no.
They say you got to name it to claim it. You've got to name it to claim it, isn't it? I think so. She's just claimed that. So
mine,
committed fully. I love that. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you sharing your personal definition of love, because it always is personal to each person, kind of what it says in the tin, right? So it really is not an Oxford or Cambridge dictionary type thing.
No.
It means you.
Exactly.
You know, how do you feel? How do you behave in love? You know, it's.
Sorry, was that a question?
Oh, it can be.
Oh, okay. Like an idiot. No, I mean,
go all cross-eyed and no.
Exactly, make you feel. But for me, it really is about, I can be myself with him, and that's where I know it's been different from the rest, because I've always been trying to be something for someone, you know. But now I'm like, this is me. This is what you get. Okay,
this is me.
Exactly, you get me,
Lady D.
Yes, I'm napping. Call me back later.
I'm in sloth mode.
Exactly, it's fine. And I feel accepted for all of my, you know, I'm a diamond, I'm multifaceted, and he accepts all parts.
Exactly. And sometimes you just need to polish up that diamond a little bit, make it sparkle some more.
can look a bit dusty sometimes.
But he likes the dust too.
Real raw already, that's it. You stay ready. So yeah.
Oh, Delcina, this is going to bring the conversation to an end. We know we can talk. Look,
I know.
we can talk for years. You know how
Right.
it is. We used to share a
35
bedroom.
and counting.
Yeah, going back to our childhood days, sharing that bedroom, talking for hours. We should be sleeping.
Yeah,
we can talk for ages. So I am feeling probably another episode for us to talk more and share more about love, life, and relationships. But before we go, I would love for you to leave the listeners with one key message, one key takeaway, really, that can help them on their journey of love, life, and relationships.
Okay. One.
Just one.
I would say it's about finding your balance. Whatever that looks like to you, finding your flow in love, life, relationships. And once you've found a good flow, sticking to that, making that your non-negotiable. Teresha and I have non-negotiables when it comes to our coach and Kyle, what he says, like your steps are non-negotiable. You just get that done. It's the same with love, life, and relationship. Have your non-negotiables, but also find your flow through that. And I'm gonna add another one because
well, I will allow it then. Go on.
Because it's sister privileges, right? Learn who you are first. Because if you don't know who you are, how are you going to bring value to another person?
Boom. And on that note, let that marinate, everyone. You are blessed with 2 key messages and takeaways there. Obviously, Delcina has shared so much gems, so much gold in this conversation today. So I really want to thank you for your time, your energy, for the beautiful, wonderful dance of a conversation we have. Okay. I was about to go into a dance move when, our song when we was a little kid, and we wasn't it? 4 flames are down. No. We're not going to bring that. No.
I know. The world does not need to know our song that we created.
Not ready for that song, all that dance moves. So maybe another episode.
Maybe.
So again, thank you so much. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, get in contact with you, or find out about any future activities you've got going on, how can they do that?
Yes, so I am on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram. So Delcina Young on both of those. And I am more than happy, whether it's career related, if you want to talk to me about career and understanding your next move or where you want to go next, or getting a bit of mentorship. I am always open to giving back in that way. And then if you just want to follow my life journey, then that's Instagram.
Exactly. Delcina's got some great fitness reels and information that she shared there about her personal health journey too. So there's so much that you can find out and also grow in terms of Delcina's all about developing people, and she can help to develop yourself. So Delcina Young, thank you so much for being an incredible, delightful, delicious, divine guest.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You are most welcome. And for everybody who has listened to the return of Real Relationship Talk, the podcast season 2, I want to thank you for your time, your energy, and your attention. And until the next episode, take great care of yourself and others too.